What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bayview Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew, and joined today, well, the gang's all here. We're all back.
Gang's all here.
Richie and Chris, all back together. How are you guys?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Doing all right.
Yeah, doing good.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
So holiday season. So
Man,
Thanksgiving season.
it's just it's just
All
a
right.
vibe.
So,
Make sure to say that very
moment of truth
specifically.
question: have your wives decorated for Christmas yet?
No.
No.
That's not allowed at our house.
Yeah. Okay. What's the cutoff?
It's Black Friday is the first day that it's Christmas in my house
fair.
because I would like to give the pilgrims their due. I feel like we owe them a lot more than we know.
I agree.
And
I agree.
they came for religious freedom, and
Yeah.
that's that they brought that ideal with them. So I spend the entire month of November celebrating the pilgrims
There you go.
and
I
God's
like that.
provision for them to make it in Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
I respect
No,
that.
I respect that too. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same ballpark. Like, I'm not going to let Hallmark influence my holiday schedule.
Amen.
And although I will say this, like, we have some warmer weather coming up this weekend. There is a chance I'll do my outdoor lights. Well, it's warm, but not turn them on. Like, they won't come on until after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's a legit thing
Yeah.
to knock out.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you get the chance.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I'm not turning them on until I'm with you. Let's have Thanksgiving, have the turkey, watch football, then we shift gears to Christmas.
Exactly. Maybe even like at the very end of Thanksgiving night, if someone wants to turn on like some Christmas music as we're cleaning up, I'll allow it.
There we go. Yeah,
We're into Christmas now.
The vibe. There is a switch that gets flipped. I do feel that.
Yeah.
We're even growing up. It was like Thanksgiving weekend. So Thanksgiving happens. That weekend was setting up the Christmas tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even in our own my home now with my wife and our kids, it's the same idea. Like
Yeah.
So,
however, let's just be clear: we're not condemning anybody that has already decorated.
Live your life,
It's all you. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's not right or wrong. It's just
you know what?
whatever.
It doesn't make us angry.
It doesn't make
Which
us
reminds
angry.
me of this past Sunday. Chris, you talked about how do we engage in this world?
What a transition, man! Well done.
Nice work.
Are we good at this? But this past Sunday, you kind of spoke to that of like engaging this world.
Yeah.
And how do we not get angry or upset? And it's a joke of seeing Christmas lights up, or it's the summer and they're selling Halloween things and all that kind of stuff. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about though this idea of how do we engage in this world and not find ourselves being mad or angry.
Yeah.
And what does that actually look like? And I don't know if you want to share a little bit of kind of where you're coming from or what you spoke on that. But
well, if you attend Bayview or you follow us at all, we're working our way through the book of 2 Timothy, which is Paul's final instructions to Timothy, and therefore his final instructions to the church, because he's kind of tapping Timothy on the shoulder to continue his work in equipping the church. And it's he says it several times throughout 1 and 2 Timothy, but kind of there where we were on Sunday, it kind of says, he doesn't kind of said, he says this, and the Lord's servants must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness. God may perhaps grant them repentance, leading to a knowledge of the truth. And I think he's laying the groundwork there for Timothy and for all of us as the church of this is how I'm telling you to go about it. And I think so I read that and at least in my own personal life when I read that, it's like, all right, don't be quarrelsome, be patient, do it with gentleness. Man, those are not my natural inclinations when I see somebody doing something I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Right? My natural go-to is I do get very frustrated, and it could be something major. It could be something as little as you didn't park right in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like that honestly, that's a source of great irritation to me. Like, really? You did not think through, or somebody leaves their shopping cart in the middle of a parking spot.
Yeah.
Like that really bothers me. And so if the little things are bothering us, how are we supposed to do this? Because I love what Paul says there. He's kind of laying the groundwork. Like, listen, the goal is not to defeat anybody. It's that somehow you still want to try and help them discover who Jesus is.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do that with anger?
Yeah, something I've, especially this week, that I've really struggled with has been obviously here in Traverse City, there was a murder and a car, some robbery stuff, and excuse me, just a tragedy overall. And this, the suspects individuals were a 17 and 18-year-old, and one of them for sure, like I've crossed paths with, or at least like no friends who've really interacted with, and it's like there's one life lost, which is a tragedy, but there really is 2 lives lost, or 3 lives lost, because the 2, I mean, they've thrown their life away, and it's like, it's if you're on social media and all that, just the anger and the the rightful desire for justice, which I do agree with, is like, how do you not let that moment? I think for a lot of people, like, which is something so off the wall, it feels out of the ordinary, all that. It's like, does it draw up the question for people, like, where's God and how could this happen and all those things? And it's like, it could drive you to just becoming very angry. And it's like that reminder of just like God is still good. But yeah, I found myself praying those prayers of like, wow, this is so sad. And how do I grieve without letting it become anger?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And how do we, in a righteous way, in an appropriate way, almost have an appropriate level of anger towards the events, but the senseless loss of life, the harm, the evil that has been done. How do we do that without? I mean, let's just call it what it is. Without somewhere in my heart being like, I hope those 2 kids burn in hell.
Yeah.
That's really where it can easily go.
Yep.
Like, you killed somebody. I hope you. I mean, we hear that a lot, right? And so I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say we're at a tipping point, like it's something brand new, but I do feel like as society becomes more openly hostile towards Christianity, towards Jesus, and it just feels like the polarization continues to be magnified, and it just seems like there's so much angst, and everyone's at this tipping point. I don't know if you guys remember this in high school, but I could be walking down the hall and I could hear the rumblings coming down from another. I went to a really large high school, and you could hear it, fight. Somebody's getting ready to fight. And what do? You just run to it. Like, we're all drawn to this conflict. And I feel like the church is in danger of becoming a place filled with irritation and frustration and anger, not at sin and evil from Satan, but at people who are godless.
Yep.
And so I think that's what. I just felt like, what if we break that down today a little bit, like from our own experiences, like how do we battle that? What are our weak points? I mean, as pastors, we probably see behind that curtain a little more often. We're also on the receiving end of a lot of attacks at times. And I know a lot of pastors, I know you guys do, who probably have given into that, and they become very bitter, and they become very angry and resentful towards people. And that removes the ability and the opportunity for any of us to set them up to experience Jesus.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, it is one of those things where it's maybe not necessarily, and like that's debatable, right? Is it getting worse out there or not? Like, is there more evil or not than there ever has been? That to me, it's like you could have that debate if you want, but the truth of it, whether you fall on either side, is we have so much more access to it. It's like 24/7. We're finding out everything that's happening, not only in our local community, but also in our country and also in our region of the world and the world as a whole. So, like even as a, young person growing up, I didn't have that kind of access unless I sought it out. But now it's like the bombardment of it. And I do think it is preying on this reality of humanity, which is we respond more to negative things than we do positive things. And there's been a ton of research about that, right? About how negative headlines cause people to read articles more than positive headlines do. And so even if it's a positive article, they'll write a negative style headline because it's more attention grabbing. And the research about that is like absolutely wild, about how much more we're drawn to the fight versus they're going to hug it out, right? Like no one's running over if people start screaming, hug it out. And
apology.
So yeah, I agree with you guys that it's just kind of like one of those things where it feels like it's in our face and it feels like it's drawing us in. It feels like it's compelling us in a certain capacity, but there is a sense of like, okay, how do I know all of these things that are going on, grieve for them, be angry about the reality of our world, but not fall into that trap of becoming an us versus them mentality, of building walls around the church and being like, we got it figured out and you don't. And like, in honesty, forgetting where I came from.
Yeah.
Forgetting that I was on that path too until I met Jesus.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. In some cases, I look at my own life and just grief journey that I've been on, and that idea of grieving and like feeling versus letting my feelings control me. Like that's been I felt like a big growth area when it comes to my thought process and interaction with this world. It's like the ability to be saddened and be angry, but not in a way that's, I want to do something about it in the sense of I want to do something in retaliation, but as in I want to do something because like my heart's broken.
Yeah.
And so I found myself trying really, like, that has seemed to be more of my experience now, where it's like when I hear these stories or I see these things, it's like, okay, we always say, like, you know, break my heart, God, for what breaks yours. And I think all the anger, violence, all the nastiness, the persecution, like that breaks God's heart.
Yeah.
And I think Richie is right of like, if we forget though that like I am a sinner saved by grace, if we forget that, why are we shocked by godless people doing godless things? Like if we allow those things to not be at the forefront of our mind, then yeah, it's really easy to just be like reactionary and not like an actual, like, let me think with this and let me grieve through this. Way easier said than done, obviously.
Right.
But that's been a huge, just like, I'd rather be slow to speak and slow to respond almost than just reactionary in my thoughts, because my human reactions come first. And then I feel like then my actual like transformed life reactions come secondary.
Yeah.
And so that's been my initial kind of experience or thought process with a lot of this.
Yeah. And that's a powerful statement too, if we really dig into that of like, all right, God, break our hearts for what breaks yours. And, you know, if I think through that filter, all right, so when I look at the face of evil or the individuals who have executed these evil acts of any kind, you know, what all the different stuff going on, how does God view that person versus how am I viewing that person? God is brokenhearted. We both, we hate that sin, we hate the evil, we hate the events and the pain and all of it that goes with it. God's heart is broken because he still sees that son or that daughter who is far from him, and he is brokenhearted because he wants them to return to him. And so we're kind of in this prodigal son mentality where you have the father who's ready and waiting and can't even contain himself to celebrate the return of that lost son. And I think as Christians and as the church, we have to continually check our hearts to ask ourselves, are we really truly desiring to see that person who is the face of the most awful acts and things? Do we want them to find Jesus? Do we really want them? I mean, if we're just going to have to be just straight up honest, I'll probably have to be honest with myself and say there's probably some of the worst people, if I could think of, in my humanness. Not only am I angry, but I'd have to really ask myself, do I really want them to get saved?
Yeah.
Do I think they deserve it? And I think that's my humanness, right? Like, I don't think they don't deserve it. Look what they did.
Yeah.
And now we're completely abandoning what we're called to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a deep, deep heart journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, it's something that I've heard you say before is like, we don't actually want justice.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
Because I'm in the same boat where it's like, I can look at somebody who's done something horrific and say they deserve what's coming to them.
Yep.
And that's what hell's for. Right.
Correct.
Like I can make statements like that, but then I would never make that statement about things I've done in my life. because I'm using that as a means to compare, right?
There you
so
go.
that way I don't have to feel bad about the things that are not in line with God in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, from a human perspective, they're not comparable, right? Like me not being attentive to my wife, right? Of allowing myself to just be distracted because I had a long day, instead of like honing in and being like, hey, let's talk. How was your day? That in my human life and in the world around me doesn't compare to somebody who has done something horrific to somebody else who's going to jail because of it. But in God's eyes, like, Jesus had to come for both of those things.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus had to come for selfishness in the same way that he came for murder. Yeah. And, it's like that, the verse of, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, applies to every single person.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if they accept Christ or not. Like, it's still applicable, right, to them as a person. Like, that still is an opportunity for them, whether they take it or not. And and so it kind of puts us in this weird place of like, we can self-justify a little bit. We can
Absolutely.
We can play the comparison game of, well, I know I got some stuff messed up, but at least I'm not that bad. And also just like this sense of justice that's baked into us, right? Because God is just. And so this desire for justice is like in there. It's intrinsic to us, but we don't understand it at the level and capacity that God is working in. Mm-hmm. And so we want that sense of justice to be fulfilled, but we also don't necessarily want it to really be fulfilled. And that also can create kind of like a tension. Like, it just heaps on to the anger we might be feeling or the frustration we might be feeling.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And we become we slide in that place where we become the judge and jury, and we begin in our hearts to determine who we deem deserving of God's grace and mercy and who is not.
Yeah.
And we lose complete sight of the fact that none of us are deserving of God's mercy and forgiveness.
Yeah.
None of us are in a place where you are a little more worthy. None are worthy. All have fallen short of the glory of God. Mm-hmm. He died for all of us while we were all sinners. And reminding ourselves of that, it's not condoning sin. And I think sometimes, I think that's probably the liberal tilt of like, well, let's not be angry. And the best way to do that is let's just condone it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not it at all. We can't condone the acts that we've been hearing about that happened here in our city this last week. We can't condone that. We can't go out and petition for the consequences of those actions to be removed. It's sad. It's deep heartbreaking to know that these young men have, as you said, they've completely radically changed the course of the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. Those consequences must play out.
Yeah.
And I think even in our own lives, I think we oftentimes misunderstand the difference between forgiveness of our sins and the consequences of our sins. Mm-hmm. We can go out and make some horrible decisions and genuinely confess and cry out for forgiveness, and we are instantly forgiven. Like God tells us, as far as the east is from the west, I'm going to cast those sins. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean the consequences go away. It doesn't mean we don't have to still walk that path of restoration, healing, reconciliation, whatever it may be, because those are the consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes I've got to keep my heart in check, is not only do I want them to pay the consequences of their actions, but I want them to go ahead and pay the consequences of their sin. Mm-hmm. And that's not how this whole gospel thing plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're like talking about this idea of how easy it is to go down this road of frustration or anger, and even how it can propel us towards sinfulness, right? Like, to the point of sinfulness, like, you think about your own life, what are some ways or avenues that you've taken to kind of stop yourself in that journey and be like, whoa, I'm like kind of like going downhill a little bit with regard to this anger or frustration that I'm feeling, to maybe like pump the brakes, kind of get in line with what God wants.
That's good. I know for me, I frequently kind of reflect back through the parable that Jesus taught on the unmerciful servant and the man who goes before the king, and he's in debt to a huge amount of money, millions of dollars or whatever the mathematics of it is. And the king forgives that debt. Mm-hmm. An unthinkable act. Mm-hmm. All the servant asks for is time to repay it. And that would have been an act of mercy, even for the king to be like, you know what, I'm going to give you time. Let's put you on a payment plan. We'll go IRS on you, and we'll put you on this installments. Right. And that would have been an act of great mercy. And that servant probably would have left me like, thank you for your kindness and your mercy. Now I got to get working at it. But the king goes much further than that, and he forgives the debt in its whole. And then as the parable plays out, of course, we know the story. He goes out and is confronted by an acquaintance that owes him a very small amount of money. And he refuses to show any leniency. And that guy asked for the same thing. He didn't ask for forgiveness of the debt. He says, just give me some more time. Yeah. And so even if I think even if that servant had been like, you know what, I just got this huge blessing of forgiveness, I'm going to give you time. Yeah, I'll work with you. I'll give you time to pay that debt back. That would have been even probably like, well, good job, man. Well done. Yeah. But that's not even the expectation. And that's not of course, the way the parable plays out, he gives him no grace, no mercy. He has him thrown in prison. He shows the exact opposite response. So for me, it's not that I go back and self-loathe into my past sins and like, oh, well, but I do reflect back and be like, wow, think about all the forgiveness I've received in my life from our Heavenly Father. But I also then think about all the times I've gone and had to ask forgiveness of individuals that I've hurt, that I've wronged. And I go with a genuine heart of repentance and sorrow, but with this expectation, right? Like I'm expecting that you'll hear my heart and you'll give that to me. And yet I have to guard my heart because I can quickly become that unmerciful servant. Yeah. So I think for me, it's that checking point of reflecting back on, man, I'm no better than anybody else. My sins may not have had the same consequences. They may not have looked as bad on a rap sheet. But yeah, I'm no better. And so I don't. For me, I think that's where I go. Yeah. I think I gotta live in that space a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, like, one of the things that I've been trying to be way more aware of and conscious of in the last several months of my life actually revolves around, it's a Dallas Willard quote. He says, if we allow everything access to our mind, we are simply asking to be kept in a state of mental turmoil or bondage. Nothing enters the mind without having an effect of good or evil. And I've really been, like, living in that in the last several months of my life where it's like, what am I consuming? Yeah. Because we do live in a consumer culture, right? America is a consumer culture at every level, and the tech companies have figured out how to make us consumers in media in a new way, right? Like reels on Instagram or TikTok or shorts on YouTube or whatever it is, or even just YouTube in general, TV in general. There's so much content, and I'm putting and allowing so much to come into my life. But to understand that none of it is amoral, right? Like all of it has a moral. All of it is good or evil. And not to say that you shouldn't watch TV or that you shouldn't watch movies or any of that kind of stuff, but just to have that awareness of what am I allowing in, how often am I allowing it in, and what impact is it creating in my heart and mind. And to just take a moment to be conscious of that, because I came to a point where I realized I was like subconsciously spending tons of time just like taking in content. And it wasn't like I was like skirting responsibilities. Like I still took out the trash. Like we still made dinner at home. I still showed up at work and did my job every day. But in all those in between times, it was like I was allowing all kinds of stuff in. And some of it was like listening to the news. Some of it was just like trying to like veg out, like watching Instagram or YouTube videos. And it became really apparent, man, these are having an impact on my ability to see the world clearly. Because so much of the stuff that I was seeing was about all of the bad things that are happening in the world. And as somebody in high school, I was like really interested in politics. I thought I might write about politics for my career at some point. And so I can get like swept up in that where I'm like hearing the stories and I'm hearing what Congress is doing, what the Senate's doing, like what the president's doing. And to like, let that be like a driving force in how I perceive other people and how I look at the world around me, even at a local level. And so for me, just that quote was like a real challenge when I read it of like, you have to have an awareness about what you're allowing into your heart and mind and how it's changing the way you follow Jesus. Because it is, whether you like it or not. And it might be big, it might be small, but you have to develop an awareness of that.
Yeah, no, that's super good. It's the old cliche garbage in, garbage out mentality, right? Like you can't continue to feed on the negative and then somehow expect some positive output out of that.
Right. It's just like you just become frustrated by every little thing, right?
Yeah.
Even little stuff is annoying to the point of anger because you've just allowed so much of it to just be there. It just like begins to like take root in you in a certain level.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time, I think, last couple of years, especially working with like accountability groups, things like that, individuals I can trust to allow me to, I think, talk things out when I'm frustrated or when something's weighing heavy on me. That's been huge to find some trusted individuals who are not just going to be, yes men or just respond with what I want them to say, but to actually like challenge and or bring perspective. I think because I'm a deep processor and a long processor, like that can be the issues. I'll just just dwell on things and keep recycling them in the mind and all that. And then in some ways it's not even what I've brought in, it's just what is in there. I allow that to almost like calcify or become something that's an issue. And so just finding outlets, and the big one has been that of finding, like I said, individuals who I trust to actually have a conversation on something versus just letting me spew it and then them agreeing with it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm wondering how much maybe, I can't remember the setting, but maybe it's been more than one time when I was a teenager, I'd get angry and I'd get angry. I'm crazy competitive and that drove my entire athletic career, but to a fault where I could easily become angry competitive. Like, so it wasn't like just like determination, like angry at and I was hard on myself. I was hard on my teammates. I was hard on whatever. And I've had different moments. I've had a coach kind of pull me aside and be like, articulate for me, what are you so angry about? Like, can you put words to that? What is it what are you really mad about? And I know that's even, happens probably a lot of times in counseling. Good counselors will ask you that question. And I wonder if we ask ourselves that as Christians engaged in this godless world and as we're exposed to all these things, what if we dig deeper? What is it? What's at the core? What am I so angry about? What was really at the heart of that?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I had like some really severe anger issues also, like growing up in high school. It's awkward, but like I was angry competitive even at golf, which I'm sure there are a lot of people who were like, how is that possible? But it's like throwing clubs, slamming clubs. Like I was the full blown like lunatic on the golf course for a lot of my life. But I think for me, like even just going through therapy and sitting down and talking to somebody about like, man, like I still have that inside of me, that outburst. Yeah. It's still there, right? And God has dealt with so much of it through my relationship with him, but like that predisposition is still down in there. And there are moments where it shows itself still. And I think for me, one of the things that I've kind of realized in talking to people about it is that a lot of it for me revolves around control. I can't fix it. And that's like a huge issue that has shown itself throughout my lifetime and still shows itself, right? Like now it shows itself in like something's broken at the house and I can't fix it. You know what I mean? Like the dishwasher's broken. It's like I can't fix it, right? And that sense of helplessness on top of the frustration of a circumstance of I'm not enough, right? Like that's what that turns into eventually is like I'm not enough. And the Bible tells me over and over again, you're not enough. That's why Jesus came, because you're not enough. And the dishwasher is just a further demonstration of that, right? Your sin is a demonstration of that, but also just like things going wrong in life is a demonstration of I can never be enough, right? I can never be everything all the time. I can't be God. And at least for me, that's kind of where that moment of like the frustration of the things that are happening in the world and circumstances in my own life. And I just, like bubbling up of anger, I have to come back to that idea of I can't be God. I will never be God. I can't be enough. I will never be enough.
That's good.
Those things have to be true and have to be okay for me to be okay.
Yeah.
And God, I feel, and the older I get and the more I practice it, the more I feel his presence in it. Like when I just come to him and say those things to him, just like the sense of like comfort that I receive in return. You know, it's like that feeling of like someone sitting down and putting their arm around you and being like, it's all good. I got you.
Yeah.
Is like the feeling that comes to me when I get to that point and I finally break down and I'm like, okay, God, these are things that are true.
Yeah.
Like, help me to be okay with it. And he does. He'll bring that peace and that comfort to you in that acknowledgement of you're God and I'm not.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's awesome.
You said that word control. I think that for me that comes into play a lot too. Is that I do like to be in control, and I think it's pretty common human nature. We actually fear what we can't control.
Yeah.
And so, how much of our anger is driven by fear? I don't think it'd be hard. It would be a large leap to say we can watch the events going on in our world, and maybe that's what's driving some of the dialogue of it's just getting worse. It's getting worse. And again, I'm not here to debate if it is or isn't.
Sure.
But I think that the fear is getting worse.
Yeah.
And we're fearing the attacks. We're fearing this persecution. We're fearing the evil. We fear because we can't control it. And we actually live in a pretty controlling, society. Like think about the control we enjoy. I can control most of my home with my phone now.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great source of peace.
Yeah.
I can turn my TV on and my lights. I can do that with my phone. I can control my oven with my phone now.
That's crazy.
Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome?
That's epic.
No more fear of the oven, right?
Yeah.
But so then I think our response to that in our humanness is that we try to control, and I can control by condemning. I can control by judging, and I'm putting it all in nice, neat little packages so that I have understanding, I have control, and somehow I'm finding peace through that. And deep down, I'm getting angry because control's an illusion.
Yeah,
like we can't control anything.
Yeah,
we have no control.
Yeah, and I try really hard to. I think even within that control issue, it reminds me of like everything's controlled by one thing. It all kind of functions together. It's like how many times have we seen, even just lately, like something on the internet, like one of these companies has an issue and it knocks out half the internet. It's happened a handful of times. And it honestly reminds me, though, of the danger of like groupthink and almost like that hive mind mentality of like, that mob mentality is probably the best way to put it, which is so easy to live in and kind of find yourself in, especially when you have an us versus them mentality in view of the world. And how it's like, we're not called to live that way or to interact that way. And it's like, there's something safe about being in a group and being like, oh yeah, everyone's angry. Well, like, it's just, I agree. Like, let's all just be angry together. And it's like how quickly that can just unravel, especially if the anger is unfounded, right? Or especially if something backfires. And so it's just a good reminder of like, God is in control still. God's heart is broken for the evil of this world still. Like all those things that we've kind of said, and just again, as hard as it is, and it's not, and I'm no way perfect at this. I don't think any of us have said that, but like finding peace and that He's got a plan. Yeah, and that sounds super Christianese and super pastoral.
Well done.
Yeah. So, but I there is truth to it. Like there's truth in the peace of knowing God's in control. Like if you are in His grace, like if you've given your life to Him, like He's got you. Like you've been forgiven. Like all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I've really tried to find myself thinking on that first before lighting the pitchfork and going for it.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. I think I've shared this before, but for me, it's asking myself a question also: am I bothered or am I burdened? And because those are two very different things. They can feel the same. Yep. In some ways, but I think it's very easy for us as Christians to be so bothered by we're bothered with the person, even though we certainly hate the evil that's being done. But I don't think God's not bothered by us. Like if he was, I would have bothered God a long time ago. Like I would have aggravated him to the point of, you're done. God's not bothered. He's always burdened. And that's a very different heart to have. So I still feel the heaviness. I still grieve. We still mourn the sins of this world. So we still feel those feelings. But the agenda behind it is different. The agenda behind it is not for them to pay that price. The agenda is not for them to, burn in hell. The agenda is, I'm burdened because I'm so heavy-hearted over the life that you're living, and I just want you to understand there's something else there. There's something more. There's a loving Heavenly Father who sent His Son Jesus to die for you, and you can experience forgiveness. And it doesn't mean your life's going to get easy all of a sudden. It doesn't mean He's going to fix everything. It doesn't mean your consequences are going to go away. But it means there becomes this eternal hope, this vision of something more beyond this world. Yeah. Even as you walk this path, and I think of those two young men that, their future is kind of now, looking like it's going to be prison, for possibly the rest of their life. Well, that may not be able to change. But the burden behind it would be like, man, how many cool stories have we heard of life-changing Jesus experiences in prisons and in jails, and there's Bible studies, and there's light there in the darkest arenas of our community. And so my burden would be like, oh man, I hope through this somehow they're exposed to the good news of the gospel somewhere. I hope somewhere they get that cellmate, or they go to a church service held in the prison. So that's the burden side. Versus like, I hope you rot. I hate what they did. I do. We hate that. We hate the sin. We hate the evilness. But if I'm going to be burdened, then I'm praying for something to come out of this that points them to Jesus and brings glory to God. And I think that's the church has got to find its place to set up camp and stay there. So, and I don't say find their way back to that, because I'm not saying the church has never been there. I just feel like we're at this danger zone of taking the bait, and like exactly what Paul's saying, like, don't get sucked into quarrels. And don't become quarrelsome. Don't get sucked into the fight and the arguments and the debates. That leads to nothing. That's not what we're here for. Mourn the things you should mourn, and have the appropriate level of anger towards the evilness. But through that, do we have a burden for the people that are so godless around us? And I've said this before. I have to ask myself this question. I ask all of us this question. Why is it I get so bothered when godless people do godless things? What am I expecting? They're godless. Like, why am I opposing expectations on them that shouldn't be there? Exactly. Because if you take God out of my life, I'm no better. Who knows the path I'll go down if God's not in my life? Because like you said, all that anger still lurks in there. All that sin, we're without Jesus, we're all going to give into that sin.
Exactly.
And that sin is not going to just be manageable or stay in one spot. Sin will continue to devour and overtake us more and more and more. And the depravity path is steep and quick. And it's only Jesus that has brought any of us to this place here. It's only Jesus that keeps us in this safety of salvation. And and so I don't know. I think for me, that's where I kind of go to that question a lot. Like, why am I bothered instead of being burdened?
Yeah, I think that's a really big deal, right? And two, it is that idea, like Andrew talked about a little bit too, of like asking God to bring the right mindset to us, right? Of like, God, help me to experience your heart for people. Help me to see people through your eyes. Like, help me to have a heart that's like your heart. Help me to be like you in these circumstances. And many years ago, I had the opportunity to be part of a prison ministry that went all through Ohio and parts of Indiana and Pennsylvania. And we would like go into these prison yards, and we'd put on like a classic rock show, basically. Nice. And so dudes would come over to hear the rock music and stuff. And then we just get to preach the gospel, just like straight up preach the gospel to them and hand out Bibles and pray with them and stuff. And it's wild because we're going into like maximum security stuff. And it's the kind of prison that you would see like on the TV show where like every dude's got their whole face tattooed like that, those types of situations. But the number of times I would like go in and like be running sound or playing bass or whatever, and they would preach the gospel, and I would stand up front and be like, if anybody needs prayer, come up front. And these dudes would come up, and as you spend time, you begin to see past the face tattoo and look them in the eyes.
That's right. That's right.
And you begin to see past the way that they hold themselves that looks so tough and so hardened, and to like really just see them as a person. And that's like a life-changing experience to realize, like, man, this dude feels broken. This dude feels hurt. This guy made choices in his life that came from a place of all kinds of hurt and sadness and difficulty. And were they the right choices? No, he knows that.
Yeah.
He's perfectly aware of that. He doesn't need me to be mad at him and shake my finger at him about what he's done.
Yeah.
And prison has doubled down on that for him. And even guys who I talked to in prison who, you know, were for the most part like unrepentant or like, well, I did what I did and just try to play it off. Even that, they even knew it was wrong, right? Like they knew they were in prison for a reason. And when you go to like a legit prison, no one in there is like, well, I don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
By the time they spend a couple of years in a prison, they're like, no, they've come to grips with that. And to me, that experience has really helped me to develop that sense of like, man, I could very easily be them. I could be right where they are because I know that pain I see in their eyes. I've felt that before. I know that, man, things just got out of hand that they talk about. I've been there before. And it just so happens that my got out of hand before I knew Jesus never got me to the point of being in jail or prison.
Right.
But who's to say that wouldn't have happened in my life had I continued down the path of just living my own way. And so, you know, it's like most of us aren't going to get the opportunity to go into prison and to meet someone who is spending their whole life there. We might not get the opportunity to go to the jail and interact with people there. But just to like, when you interact with somebody who lives a different lifestyle than you or is making bad choices, to just try as much as you can, just like look them in the eyes and to just like see the pain that's there, experience the pain that's there, and to just like beg God, like, God, you got to change the way I feel about this or the way I think about this. I can't be like in my flesh if this person's going to benefit from experiencing you through my life.
Yeah, that's so good. It's interesting. Because I've had some similar experiences. We went at one point. We went and played a soccer tournament inside Mansfield Maximum Security in Ohio. I don't know if you've been in Mansfield or not. That's legit.
It's
right?
wild.
Across the way is the old one where they filmed Shawshank Redemption. But it's so. And I remember walking in, and you go through all the multiple gates and multiple doors. They walked us through the weight room, which was like movie quality prison weight room. Like, wow, this is a scary, scary place. And I began to question my decision to come on this. It was a Christian organization that was bringing us in, and I was like, we're going to go play a contact sport against murderers and lifers. This is what are we doing? And through the course of the 2 days we were there, there were so many moments where we found ourselves sitting in the bleachers, waiting for our next turn to play and in conversations. And it's interesting, as you're saying that, I'd never thought of it this way before, but it was in those moments where I began to just spend one-on-one time and hear the story and the heart of the individual. I stopped seeing the crime that put him there, and I just started seeing the person that was there.
Yeah.
And that was for me, that was a huge moment, a challenge in my heart of like, wow, God, that's how God sees us. He doesn't see the crime. He hates the crime, but he sees the person hurting behind it.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I agree with you, not everybody's going to have that opportunity, but we don't have to go to that place. I mean, it's all around us to see the person, not the evil. And allow that to create a burden in us. And I think if we go to that place, we're not going to be mad. I guarantee you that was one soccer tournament where I never let my competitive anger come out.
Yeah.
I was good. I wanted to pick a fight there. Right?
That's smart. That's respectable.
But it was more than just fear. Ultimately because we really cared for these dudes and we built these relationships and not all of them were believers. Even it wasn't even that. It's just like I begin to see something different than just what put them there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think maybe for the church, that's what's before us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening, we're here to tell you we have not perfected it.
No.
we're still grinding through this, sometimes daily with you.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you guys have both said. It's what are you asking God to do in your heart, and how is He preparing you to go and preparing each of us to go and engage this world that He is burdened for.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible clearly states it's God's desire that all men should be saved. Yeah. He's burdened for His children, and we can only do our best to ask Him to change our hearts and burden us like He is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
So, cool. Well, hey, thanks for being with us today. Hopefully this was help to you, encouragement to you. It's kind of back when we started the podcast, that was kind of the goal, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of have a time each week to talk about life and faith and encourage you in the middle of the week.
100%.
So
Yeah.
appreciate you being with us. If you haven't done so, hit like or subscribe or whatever platform you're listening on. That way you never miss an episode. And we're here each and every week. And so until next week, it's Andrew, Richie, Chris. We are out of here, and we'll see you next time around.